7 days after the Hamas terror attack on Israel on October the 7th, the Jewish state is on the threshold of its biggest ground offensive in history into the Palestinian territory of Gaza. Now, you've been watching India Today's Gaurav Sawant, my colleague, reporting from the front line as endless columns of Israeli Merkava battle tanks roll towards the Gaza Strip as we speak. A galvanized Israel intends to keep rolling until Hamas is obliterated in all its forms. The question, though, is, what about Iran? That's right, what about Iran? A huge country in the region that has direct links with Hamas. A country whose role in the October 7th attack, even at this early stage, is beyond doubt. Nobody has any misconceptions about that. A country that has supplied everything from rockets to anti-tank weaponry to drones to Hamas, alongside valuable funding to train generations of jihadis. And it is believed a safe haven for the Hamas leadership whenever they have needed it. Iran hasn't fought a full-scale war in many decades now, but flexes its muscle via groups like the Hamas and the Islamic Jihad in Gaza, like the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Media reports suggest that Iran may have had more than just a supporting role. The Wall Street Journal, for instance, reports that members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard may have visited Lebanon to actually sign off on the October 7th attack by the Hamas 6 days before it happened. Now, Iran, of course, has denied all such reports of its involvement, but has, not unexpectedly, welcomed the attack by Hamas and openly congratulated both the Hamas and its leader, Ismail Haniyeh, who is known to live a protected life in Qatar, as I showed you on my show just a couple of days ago. Now, Iran's proxy battles in the region are now very well known, but the question is why? You're asking, what does Iran have to gain from this? What does Iran gain from supporting Hamas, supplying it via smuggling tunnels with rockets, anti-tank weaponry, drones, anti-aircraft missiles, mines, light machine guns, and so much more? The issue, viewer, is this. Prior to the October 7th attack, Israel's relationship with the Arab and Muslim world was heading slowly in the direction of normalcy after decades of animosity. President Joe Biden of the United States, in fact, was famously attempting to mediate a Saudi-Israel link, a handshake that would get these two big countries, for the first time in history, Saudi and Israel, to see each other as nations rather than bitter adversaries who need to be destroyed. In September this year, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Turkish President Recep Erdogan, whose own government has been a supporter of Hamas and has always been virulently anti-Israel. Netanyahu and Erdogan meeting on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly has hinted at a new normalization of that broken relationship between Israel and Turkey. So there is a hint of normalization in that direction as well. As a nation that poisonously calls for the direction of Israel, Iran itself had seen a path of normalcy appear with the United States. The Biden administration earlier this year, viewer, had taken a decision to unfreeze $6 billion of Iran's money, allowing it to access that money after decades of sanctions, in exchange for the release of 5 American prisoners. While the US says now that it is still investigating Iran's role in the Hamas attack, Iran, for the moment, can just forget about those $6 billion, obviously. The attack has additionally given people like Donald Trump a juicy opportunity to claim vindication, since he had ferociously attacked President Biden over the $6 billion in aid deal with Iran. Expect this to become a huge election issue in America as Biden heads into the polls next year. Iran is a very, very touchy topic in US politics, as you know. But the question now is, with everything that we know and everything that will emerge after investigations, will Iran face any consequences of any kind from Israel or from the United States? Yesterday we saw how Israel had launched missile attacks on 2 airports in Syria, in Damascus and Aleppo. These were said to be preemptive strikes to send out a message. Now, Syria and Iran are, of course, not the same. Syria, after years of war, is a depleted force with no real military to speak of, and the ISIS is a formidable strength in several areas of Syria. Iran, on the other hand, viewer, has a full-fledged military capable of taking on a power potentially like Israel. Now, the US Gerald Ford aircraft carrier battle group that's headed into the Mediterranean and arrived there on Tuesday, we are told, isn't just for solidarity with Israel, make no mistake, and I'll tell you a little bit about this a little later. It is an unmissable American message to perhaps Iran more than any other country. As the global spotlight now rests on Gaza, the shadow of Iran is only set to darken.